So Carl was a Lutheran minister for how many years?
12.
For 12 years, and he was very successful. It's not like he didn't have it going on. He had a large congregation, and things were rocking and rolling, but then all of a sudden, Spirit does as Spirit does, and he started having realization, and things started coming to him. And I would love to hear about that and what happened as a result of that.
When I was getting a master's in psychology, the professor just said a couple of sentences that just literally changed my life. He said, 85 to 88% of our mind is our subconscious. Our conscious mind is only 12 to 15% of our mind. And it just kind of blew me away. All of our education is geared towards that little conscious mind. The huge subconscious mind is totally ignored by education, by science, by medicine, by literally every aspect of life. And I made a vow that I am going to learn to use up to 100% of my mind. And it wasn't 8 weeks later that an old Army buddy from Detroit, we were living in Jackson, Michigan, he called and he said, hey, I've got someone that you need to meet. And he said, I'll bring him over. And he did, and when he came with a suitcase. He was in his 70s. He had been a Jesuit monk for virtually all of his adult life. And the Jesuits are the most educated of the Catholic orders. And because he had been working out of his subconscious, he outgrew being a Jesuit monk. And anyway, he came and he lived with us for about 3 weeks and put on classes at the church that I was serving, other churches and other groups in the community of Jackson. And I like to think I was probably one of his best students. I began meditating, and instead of having to spend 20 hours a week preparing a sermon, now Lutherans have a fixed set of lessons every Sunday, okay? And you're supposed to preach from those lessons. Well, I would read the lessons over, and then I would go into meditation and just, Father, what do you want these lessons to say to your people? And instantly, I would have the sermon topic. I would turn on the recorder, and the sermon would come through me, not from me. And that's how the people for 2 years got their lessons. And the church had grown from a little over 100 to a little over 500 in the time that I had been there. And by the time 2 years of doing this had gone by, the membership was down to 250. Well, it was time for me to leave, for them and for myself. And what I realized is that every organized religion has a ceiling. And yes, unity has this too, incidentally. You can only go as far as the founder of that religion is, and if you go beyond that, as a minister, you're in trouble. And as a parishioner, you're out of there. You outgrow it. And I don't know about you, but my value system is I'm not going to let anyone or anything interfere with my spiritual growth.
Amen.
So obviously I was out. I became a Coptic minister who was far, far more open. And we were active in that for about 40 years. And then I reached the point where I was being criticized for my beliefs. And I said, enough of this. And so I've been floating free in essence, speaking where I'm asked. And please, we're at a time now. There is so much happening so fast. The energies on the planet are increasing at such a rate. This month of March has been unprecedented in, as far as I know, the history of humanity. You realize that we had 4 major significant things happen this month, and each one bringing in higher and higher and higher energy in greater and greater amounts. And yesterday with the sun, Drunvalo Melchizedek said, this is extraordinarily high energy. And he said, I've been fasting for a week up to it because the energy builds up Yesterday was the peak, but he said that energy is going to continue on for the next 6 weeks. And for us to be aware of that and to utilize that energy for our spiritual growth and for in the services that we're here to give, wow, we can achieve a dozen lifetimes of growth in this, in just a short period of time in this lifetime. What an opportunity, but oh baby, what a challenge it is too. Okay? So just be aware that you've got all of the assistance that you ask for. But the law of non-interference says they can't interfere, but if you ask, they are chomping at the bit to be helpful because they get joy out of helping us. So please ask for the help that you need and here, achieve as much growth as you can. All right? And the purpose for these seminars is implied in the meditation. One of the highest lessons that anyone can learn here on the earth at this time is to merge their human consciousness with their divine consciousness. And this is just a little sideline. As a Lutheran minister, and they told us we had a soul, but they never defined it, never told us what a soul was. And for 20 years, I worked with ministers of all denominations, and in checking with many of them, none of the seminaries told their minister trainees what a soul was. Do you know why? They didn't know. All right? And our soul is the divine consciousness of the Creator that exists within us. And that is the meaning. And again, and the churches never interpret this part. God created humans in his own image and likeness. What does that mean? They picture God as an old man, but they say, oh no, he's the Spirit present everywhere. Anyway, they don't understand that. So what it means is that we have this divine presence within ourselves, and it's through us that the divine presence expresses and experiences. And for us to merge our consciousness with our soul's consciousness and become Christ conscious, we will automatically be functioning at a high level of the fifth dimension. And the earth has been functioning at a third dimension, and that's based on fear, limitation, and separation. In all of our human institutions, governments, economies, religions, healthcare, legal systems, etc., are all third dimensional. And now all of that is coming to the surface to be cleansed and changed. All right? And we call that chaos. And that's what we're going through. Celebrate the chaos. And you have the opportunity to create what it is you want to create, just as you said, okay? And just as we said in the songs that we were singing. So that's why we're here. And that's what these seminars are to help you get in touch with your Christed consciousness and to live it, feel it, express it, be it. I hope if it strikes you right, we'll see you on Friday at 6 o'clock. So thank you.
So I'm curious when you talk about the idea of merging yourself with the soul. Could you talk about that a little bit? In your experience, in your understanding of exactly what that means and possibly some ways to do that?
Well, I'm not going to tell them how they can do it. They have to come to the seminars for that.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
It requires an extraordinarily high sense of self-discipline. Whenever we're awake, we have a thought in our mind. How often are you consciously aware of the thought you're holding on to? And are you aware of thought patterns that exert a lot of control over you? So we need to be constantly aware, and that's one of the things we're going to be stressing, to be aware. And if it's a negative thought, you don't need that. Negative thoughts are non-productive. They're downers. They're depressing. All right? So one is to learn to control your thoughts. And out of thoughts often come emotions, and emotions empower thoughts. And we have positive thoughts and positive emotions and negative too. So it's a matter of changing, restructuring our thinking process which also then restructures our feeling process, which also then changes our reaction process to what happens to us. And what has most important in creating the person that we are is not what happens to us, but how we choose to respond to it. That's the shaper. That's what makes us the person that we are. So it's a matter of recreating ourselves on a higher level of Christ consciousness. Does that?
Yeah, it's beautiful. That's just beautiful. So spend a minute, because another thing that Carl is going to be doing for anybody that's interesting, he does these amazing that he's going to be offering to people, and there's going to be a sign-up sheet out in the lobby service today. But could you just, and I've had one, and I'm just telling you, mind-blowing. So could you just share a few words about the readings and what that entails for you?
Yeah, it's called a life script reading. And all of us, before we left the womb, we had spent literally, I don't know how much time, but a lot of time and effort planning this lifetime. And there are basically two parts to the plan, and that is, what are we here to learn, and what service are we here to give? And when we leave the birth canal, we leave our memory behind. All right? So in a life script reading, we go into the Akashic record. Are you with me on that term? Okay, good. And we go into the Akashic record and we look at the script that you wrote for this lifetime, bringing that into your current mind, your current memory, okay? But we do a lot of other things too. We ask questions that perhaps you've never considered before. One question: what were you before you took on physical human form? What is your soul? Where did it originate from? Now, that is the energy that your soul still carries. And do you know that you have a number of oversouls? Have you heard that term before? We all have been carrying a third dimensional soul. Well, that came out of, it was given birth by our fifth dimensional soul. So our fifth dimensional soul is our oversoul. That was given birth by our seventh dimensional soul, which we know as our I am, which was given birth by our ninth dimensional soul, which is our monad. And so tracing it all of the way back to where did it first come into existence and in what form was it? And I know, for example, that my wife's, she came from the angelic realm. I came from the spirit realm as an Elohim, the shapers of physical matter. I've done about 500 life script readings over the last 25 years. And it's interesting. Some come from other universes. Some come from the second creation. Did you even know there was such a thing, you know? And only one or two have come from the first creation. So anyway, what's the origin of your soul and the path that it's traveled? And if you can picture a string of pearls connected with a silver cord, those are your oversouls, your higher dimensional souls. And they're a part of you. And they're with you 24/7. You are their teachers. They have never experienced these lower dimensions, and through you, they're learning about them. So that's what a life script is about.
So there will be a sign-up sheet out if anybody's interested in doing that.
Yeah, just two things. Number one, it's important that you record it, because you're going to have so many questions after you're done that you didn't think of in the reading, okay? And secondly, I charge for that. That's $125. It takes about an hour. And for recording, the most efficient way to do it is with a smartphone. But be sure that when you bring it, it's fully charged and you know how to record with it.
I took my recording and had it transcribed, and I had it done probably 5-6 years ago, and I still have the transcription, and I still go back and listen to it every so often. It was that moving and that powerful. Any last words, Carl, you'd like to share?
Do you have any questions?
Ignorant asking this, but can you tell us what the 4 things are that you are referring to that have happened in the last, did you say month, this month?
Yes, this month. There was an eclipse of the moon, okay? Then there was also a minor eclipse, where Venus passed between the Earth and the Sun. The third one is the eclipse, I'm drawing a blank on it. The equinox, okay. And then the fourth was the solar eclipse that happened just yesterday. Now, just one other thing about these classes. I'm not going to do it in the order that Mike has published, all right?
Shocker.
We didn't have good communication there. This Friday, we're going to deal with who you are. And we are all made up of four major components, and I call them four different bodies. And the emphasis is going to be on the fourth body, on our soul. What is it? So anyway.
That's awesome. Can we give Carl a big round of applause?
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Hey, it's Reverend Mike here. I just wanted to stop for a moment before you get on with your day and thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. It means the world to us, and I just wanted to let you know if there's anything that we can do to make your experience even better, please do not hesitate to reach out by going to our website. I also wanted to offer you the opportunity for us to get together and sit down so I could get to know you a little bit better and answer any questions that you have. I can either do that by either getting together in person, have a cup of coffee, or we can meet online via Zoom. If you're interested, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can reach me at michael@courage2thrive.com. And lastly, if you find these messages are helping you, we would be tremendously grateful if you'd consider donating to the center. The best and the easiest way to do that is simple. Just go to our website. Again, thank you so much. Hope you have a great day. Hope you're doing well. God bless, and we hope to see you soon. Bye-bye now.